on an all-new Time Out. It's time for some truth with Diamond and Silk. On tonight, we sit down and have a candid conversation with Congressman Steve King about race and racism, how the word racism has taken on a whole new meaning, and how the left tends to jump to conclusions without getting the facts first. So without further ado, here's our interview with Congressman Steve King. Congressman King. Yes. Okay, so some things went down where you had an interview with the New York Times. Mm-hmm. We don't have a transcript, we don't have a recording so far, but they're saying that you made some quotes. So I'm going to ask you outright. I just want to ask the one question that people keep throwing at us and throwing out there. So I'm going to ask you directly. Are you a racist?
No, and no chance. And I look at my whole life, it's been about this. In fact, this morning I gave a speech on this. First, we're all created in God's image. Mm-hmm. And the second is, human life is sacred in all of its forms. When you get to those two pieces, if you believe that as profoundly as I do, then there's no room for racism. And that is the bottom line and the pattern of my life. 16 years here in this Congress. This is the most diverse city in America. There's not one member of Congress, including the members of the Congressional Black Caucus. There's not one staff person. There's not one person that's come in here and visit that says they have had an experience other than full respect and deference, regardless of race, ethnicity, or any immutable characteristic. And on top of that, God's given me a gift. I love people.
We know you love to serve. One more question from me. The word white nationalist keeps coming up. Now, I know a nationalist is somebody that loves their country. Mm-hmm. But why is white nationalist, or why do you think white nationalist is being tied to nationalist?
Well, I have described this in several interviews in the past, and it's not a word that I trade in. And in fact, we can't even find that I'd used that word up until I was asked a specific question about it, all the way back through LexisNexis to 2000 and beyond. Mm-hmm. And we went back through LexisNexis to try to figure this out. And so how many times is it used, and what construct is it used? And we saw that, as I had said in an interview before Dave Price at TV last October, that it's been increasingly used in the political dialogue. But up until about 3 or 4 years ago, you hardly ever saw it show up proportionally. Right. Then its use jumped up. So I would just, and this is the way I've described it, is that the word racist has been used over and over again for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I remember April Ryan challenging me with that question in an ambush interview in Cleveland at the Republican Convention in 2016. And I said, and she said racist, and I said, say that word again, say it over and over and over again, say it 1,000,000 times, because it's losing its value. It's the most dog-eared term in Democrats' political lexicon. They call everybody a racist. And so then, but they realized that, and they began adding other derogatory adjectives into the political lexicon. And so it's racist, Nazi. Why would you ever call a conservative a Nazi? They were socialists. They were a version of Marxism that just took over private business and regulated it. And so they went racist, Nazi, fascist, white nationalist, and then white supremacist. Those are all words now that have been plugged into this dialogue as pejorative terms, derogatory terms to insult people, and as long as they can call names, they don't have to deal with the issues.
That's right.
So that
they're called trigger words. They're like trigger words.
Yeah, they are trigger words, and that's another word that's in that we didn't talk about until 2 years ago.
Right.
Triggered. I don't know what that meant.
Okay, so you know what, Silk? I asked Congressman Steve King about the nationalist question, the word nationalist, because oftentimes I feel that everybody is getting it confused with white nationalists. Now you have to understand, this is the bar that the left set in place for everybody. Okay? So I want people to understand what a nationalist is. It's a person that has love for the country.
That's
love
right.
for your country. You're very patriotic. Okay? All right? And what I'm finding out is it seems that the left, if you are white and you say that you are a nationalist, the left is trying to define you as a white nationalist. And if you are black and you say, I'm a nationalist because I love my country, then what the left will do is vilify you as a white nationalist. And they saying that that is derogatory and that's racist. Now, I want to give you the definition of white nationalism. White nationalism is a type of nationalism or pan-nationalism which espouses the belief that white people are a race and seeks to develop and maintain a white national identity. Its proponents identify with and are attached to the concept of a white nation, okay? But you have to understand where I got this from. The first thing that came up for me was Wikipedia. You have to understand that Wikipedia is not a reliable source because anybody can go in there and fix that definition to suit their concept of what white nationalist is.
And to suit the narrative that's been spinning here for all of these years. So the definition can be the truth about something, but then when they come in and they edit it and change the meaning of the word, then now it's become a racist term.
A racist term, right. Just because you are white and you have a love for your country and you call yourself a nationalist, that doesn't mean that you are a racist. That doesn't mean that you are trying to promote white power. You are trying to just have a country just full of white people. That means you have a love for your country. But guess what? White people are not only nationalists. You have black people that call themselves nationalists because they also love the country. And they don't deserve to be vilified and painted into this box as, oh, well then if you are a nationalist, that means you go along with white nationalists, which is somebody that just wants the whole world to be white, according to what I'm reading here.
But one thing that I remember and found out about the Democrats is that they know that if they can keep us all divided by something that's deemed hatred, then it's easy for them to control us all.
And to paint somebody in a box using a racial undertone to describe them is straight slander.
That's
what it is.
Yes.
Anytime, if you're white and you come out where you love the flag, then they will take and make up something on you. They may call you a xenophobe or this kind of phobe because you love the flag. You support the country. You are very patriotic. See, this is what the left do to paint us all in the box, to deem everybody that has a conservative point of view, that loves the country as a racist of some type of sort, or some kind of undertone that have to be racist is what they try to do. They try to paint you in.
They do. All right. So let's continue on with the conversation with Mr. Steve King.
So you're doing this interview with the New York Times. And I know sometimes when it comes to media, because we're so, dealing with the media, you can say one word, they take it out of context. What question did they ask you, the New York Times asked you?
The truth is, we don't know. And he doesn't know. But this phone call that came, it was a surprise phone call on a Friday morning. I was in my apartment, didn't have any staff around with a recording device of any kind. And I'm a friendly guy. I want to talk and be open with people, and I want to start with trust. But I was trying to get my sound system wired into my phone, and I said, call me back in 10 minutes. I wasn't actually sure what was coming on the other end of the line. I was half wired in right, and the call came, and I'm into this interview as I kind of figure it out. But still, 56 minutes. I have no tape, no notes. He has no tape, and he says he has notes, and I don't disbelieve that. But he did tell us that I went into a long story about how Ted Cruz and I had first met, and what I had said to him about how Democrats will manipulate language against us.
That's true.
And they will, if you let them define the language that's offensive, they will define any language that's effective against them as offensive.
Absolutely.
And so I had told that narrative, and then he's typing while I'm talking. I can hear some keys going, and there were twice in that interview I can think of at least that he stopped me and wanted me to restate it so he got it he wanted to get that quote exactly right. It wasn't that one. But in any case, so the discussion was about the political lexicon and how language has changed and what it's used for, as I've just described. And so I think that he injected the term white nationalist and white supremacist into the question. And I was answering that. And one of the reasons I think that is because I don't trade in that language. I don't use those words. And as a matter of fact, a LexisNexis search will show that I have never been quoted of using those words until the New York Times. You don't find the word white supremacist in my language, in my name, in quotes. In other words, a LexisNexis search says, Steve King never said those words before, ever. Wow. And so when they show up in a New York Times story, it's pretty easy to make the case that they were never said, or that it was in response to a question. But in any case, the phrase of that went along. Those two descriptive, or derogatory descriptives, which I completely reject any idea that, America's never been a white nation. We started out having to make friends with the natives that were here. So that's not anything that's in the, I don't know those people. I don't know the names of the people that lead those organizations. They're small in number, they're not powerful, but so I reject the ideology, but what I did defend was Western civilization.
Right.
And so the way it was quoted in the New York Times, it said white nationalism, white supremacy, white nationalism, white supremacy, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive?
And then you went on to say something about Western civilization.
Why did I sit in the classrooms learning about the merit of our culture, and then the rest of that thought would be just to see it become a derogatory term today.
That's right.
So they misquoted me in the New York Times because it was a separate subject matter when I said Western civilization. And all you have to do is just take a hyphen and swap it with a comma, and you get the exact meaning.
And put some quotations there to make it look like you actually quoted it.
So
he put the quote in.
I know you want to add. Okay, well, okay. Whenever the story broke, did you go back to the New York Times and say, show me a transcript? I want to hear recordings. What did they say?
They said, we don't have a recording. It's not our practice to record. And he said, I have my notes. Well, let's see them. No, we won't get to see his notes. And so that's where it stands.
So you see, Silk, how the New York Times, the media, I can paint them collectively all together.
Yep.
Because they all do pretty much the same thing. How they run with sound bites. They take and they push out sound bites.
Yep.
And then they have us running with sound bites. Let me say it that right. They
That's
take
right.
and they push out sound bites. They have us running with sound bites. Now, when this story first broke, I guess that they thought that everybody was going to be humping on this story like a puppy humping on a pillow. It was an absolute unequivocally no for us.
Right.
And the reason why is because we know how the media, especially people like the New York Times, take and manipulate stories.
That's
manipulate words. When you look at the same media that bash our president every single day, and now you all want me to go along with this journalist that says that Steve King said white nationalists, white supremacists, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive? Like he said it in that context, but yet we don't have any transcript, or any recording of the full conversation that was being had that day.
But now
that's just like if you take a sound bite from what I'm saying, but you don't give everything, then what you're doing is you could be misquoting what he's saying, what he meant, how he meant it, is what you're doing.
But the journalist said that they have notes, but they won't give up the notes.
Well, if you won't give up the notes, that means you could be telling a nasty lie.
Right.
That means you were trying to do a hit piece without the piece.
That's right.
Because I need to see the full context of what was saying, what were they conversating about, and why are you calling Congressman Steve King on the weekend about and talking about race?
After a 56-minute interview. That's all they got?
All you got was those words there. And then you took them and you put them around quotation marks. You know, I wonder if Steve King could sue for or should sue for slander.
Well, I don't
because
see why
that's
not.
what I see. I see
exactly
slander going on here. Go ahead.
That's right. I remember whenever we would do interviews and how they would do the same thing. Take our words out of context, put certain things in quotation marks, write a story, a negative story around it, but put our words in the middle of it like we actually said it that particular way. And this is something that especially the whole entire left, mainstream media, the bloggers and so forth, it's their deal to get you at this got you moment.
Or try to make a got you moment. But you have to understand that after this broke in the news with Congressman Steve King, guess what? A week or so later, we had the Coverton Catholic students. They got that story wrong.
That's
the
right.
Cohan, when they said that Cohan was told to lie to Congress by the POTUS. They got that story wrong. BuzzFeed got that story wrong. So that's why I don't always hump on these stories, you all, whenever they come out with some salacious gossip.
And if you look at it, and you go looking for a story, they have all of the negative stories up front. All of the negative tones.
Well, whenever you Google any conservatives, it's always negative. It is always negative. Even if you have a gadget on your phone or whatever called mentions, where anytime you're mentioning the world, you can see who's talking about you. You may see good stories in there, but you can Google it, those stories don't come up. But if you are a conservative, anything bad on you, that's what comes up. And then they use Wikipedia for anybody to go in there and change the context of who you are. And you got ignorant people, and ignorant means unlearned, that's ignorant to the fact of how Wikipedia works, and they believe that foolishness.
All of that
anybody that's a conservative, there is nothing nice written on them. Everything is negative. They got them painted as white nationalists, racist, alt-right, and all of this other
white
kind
supremacists,
of all of this other kind of stuff.
Neo-Nazis.
Right.
And what they are doing is tying those words to individuals because they want to make it stick as if you are a white supremacist or a white nationalist or a neo-Nazi. I mean, I look at how they call us a white supremacist and we two black women. But there's one more thing that I want to just quickly note. Democrats defend a language that's offensive. They will defend any language that is effective against them as racist.
So that means they are able to take the words.
That's right.
That's racist.
But take any type of content that's effective against them. Anything effective against them. So when we say how Democrats is the party of slavery, the party of segregation, the party of the KKK,
which they are,
they know how to take those words and use it against a Republican as racist. It's like, you can't call me out
on my stuff
because now you're a racist if you do. And that's what the Democrats have learned how to effectively do.
And what the Republicans are going to have to effectively do is stand up for yourself and call them out on their hypocrisy. Because a lot of these words that are floating around are the words that they created.
That's
it's the energy and the stuff that they created to intimidate, manipulate, to dominate. And if you look at it fast forward today, the intimidation with your words. You can't say this here. You can't say that. With the manipulation of your words. Oh, well, I'm going to take that word and I'm going to make that word a racist now.
That's
you calling yourself a nationalist? You white now, that makes you a white nationalist.
That's
That's what they're saying, you are. So now let's move on to see what else the Congressman Steve King have to say.
Okay, so I understand that the word racist have lost its definition because really racist is somebody that feels that they are superior than another race. Okay, it's not what you speak or what somebody said you spoke that makes anybody a racist.
A racist is that's something that's in a person's head. And you have to divine what's in their head to put that label on them.
Wow. But see, like you said earlier, with the left always wanting to attack the right, they call Diamond and Silk white supremacists, and we black women.
Isn't that something? That's a description of how bad this is.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
And look at the political climate right now.
Right.
Because with the Democrats want to now shut everybody up, censor everybody, deem everybody as a racist because you don't go along with their narrative.
Right.
With them wanting to do that, now that the Democrats history is being exposed from what they did in the past.
Right.
Now you got us here talking about racism and racists.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because they're now being exposed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay?
And you have to understand all of this here, the sentiments of this here.
Yeah.
If you scrape up all of the trash
Uh-huh.
of racism
Uh-huh.
and being racist
Yes.
and white supremacists, it all centered around Democrats because they were the ones that started all of this.
Yes.
They were the ones started all of this here
Yep.
foolishness.
Yep.
It's what they did. So now what they try to do is they try to paint you with certain words.
As
they
it's
try
you.
to say different things about you.
Yeah.
And when we look at the media, you all look at what side the media is on. They lean so far to the left that they're falling off a cliff is what's happening.
Yes.
And so, yes, they take the sound bites. They controlling the Wikipedias. They're controlling the Googles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you research something, oh, well, then that makes me this because they said it. Because they're setting the standard.
Right.
And if you don't go along with the standard, you're bullied or you're ostracized, criticized, or they stigmatize you. They put a stigma on you, slander your name where you would never be able to live it down.
And if I could just quickly say one thing, if you remember with the Democrats, when we were lifelong Democrats,
right?
Okay, so we know how the game is played. They would tell us that the white Republicans are the racists.
Right.
They are the ones that don't want you to have anything.
That's right.
What we're going to do as the Democrat Party, we're going to give you what you need. We're going to make sure that you know,
act like they helping us.
And basically, that's the bottom line. So what they do is they take and they put people out front. So you won't see the real white liberal racists, okay, from the Democrat side, to make it appear like it's the Republicans that's the racists. So when you got the mainstream media on the side of the Democrats, and they continue to put that out and air it, people will start believing that this is true about the Republican Party because the Democrats said it.
But when we start looking at the white liberals, we also have to look at the black liberals.
That's
because when I'm sitting up and I'm looking at television and I see black liberal journalists spewing this same hate, painting everything as racist, you ain't no better than the white liberals that's spewing this same type of rhetoric.
Who's got the black person there spewing it?
White liberals.
The white liberals. Because that's what they want to put in the face of black people. So my black person is my black brother or my black preacher or whomever. They have dished this out to the black community.
Because of based on what the white liberals tell you set forth for you to do.
That's right. So when you see that, especially as a black person, you'll begin to believe that the Republican is the racist because you don't see the real racist sitting behind the black person, which is the Democrats.
Right.
So, when I really look at it, Diamond, the black so-called leaders, was actually implementing this ideology to the black community, that all Republicans were racist.
That's exactly what they did.
Right.
That's exactly what they did until we start looking at the whole part, every party as a whole.
That's right.
Okay, so you want to paint the Republican Party as racist, but when you go back and you look at history, a lot of these here little words and these bud words and the words that's being manipulated was the same words that the Democrat Party put in place to intimidate, manipulate in order to dominate.
That's right.
This is what these left-leaning liberals, this is what they tend to do.
And just remember that the Democrat Party is the party of the KKK. But who they try to tie the KKK to now?
They try to tie it to the Republican Party.
That's right. And why do they try to tie it to the Republican Party?
So that they can erase their own history because they don't want us to know history. But let me tell you something. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat your history.
That's right.
So that's why they go around a word that was just a word like the word nationalist. Now they're saying, oh, that means you are a white nationalist. If you are conservative, oh, that means you part of the alt Right. These are little buzz words
Trigger
that
words.
they put the left now, and the left can do it because they control the Google, they control the Wikipedia, they control the media, they control the movie houses, they control the networks. So that's why they can push this among the masses and everybody believe it. And if you don't go along with it, then we gonna bully you. You still don't want to go along? Now we fin to take and ostricize. Now we gonna stigmatize you. We gonna deem you as a racist. And that's why people in the Republican Party, some of our white brothers and sisters, they can't move forward because they are afraid to be painted as a racist. The same, but the Democrats know how to play the game.
They know how to play
because
the game.
they are the party of racism. Look at what's happening in Virginia, if you don't believe me.
So when I see the Democrats running so far to the left that they're running off of a cliff, literally, when I see them trying to take our guns away.
There you go.
And I see them trying to silence you if you're not speaking their narrative.
In their language, that's right.
And their language. I see how they're manipulating the mainstream media to put out one particular narrative for everybody to believe and latch on to.
And everybody to follow.
I look at how they even try to deem our president as all of these derogatory names, yet they will never play. I don't see them playing anything that our president have done good for this country.
Oh, they're not going to play that.
They're not going to play it. They don't want you to see what he's done good.
Because let me just tell you why. If I deem something or call something a racist, it will scare you, especially black people.
Right.
Because during the day, especially of Jim Crow, when you talk about the 1930s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, when you talk about the Democrat Party not wanting civil rights to go through, they didn't come to the table for that. When you talk about that, it scares who? Black people. It scares who? Who they call minorities. Because some of those minorities grew up in a family that passed it down.
Right.
You don't want the KKK to come out of you. You don't want them burning no cross in front of you. You don't want them burning down your property. You don't want them coming to try to lynch you. You sort of see what I'm saying? So the first thing that the thing that fear everybody is the KKK, especially black people. That's why that governor in Virginia, he will never, ever, ever, ever come back for this. Because they not looking him as if he was the man in blackface. They thinking he is the man that's the KKK. All you got to do is show a black person KKK. That's it.
Wrap.
Because those people etched it in you to fear them. You see what I'm saying?
And that's why they continue to play Roots.
Absolutely.
So you can continue to see this and embed it in you as if it's you. Okay? Now, so what I see the Democrats really doing is what's called a undercover way of getting this country back to slavery through socialism.
Not only that, they want to divide us. Because if they can make us all poor, now we're divided.
That's right.
Okay, so how poor are you? Poorer than me? Well, I don't like you because you got a little bit, you got $2 more than me. We are all bickering because that's how they control.
That's right.
When they have us bickering.
That's
right. The white man this. Oh, the black person this.
That's right.
Oh, the black man this. When they put us in boxes and paint us all with one broad brush and have us bickering, this is a way they can control. Because if I can create, or excuse me, if they can create enough poor people, those poor people will complain about the rich people. And then when they say, whoa, we got to tax the rich, you have all of the poor people, which is the majority of people, going along with that foolishness.
But now here's the crazy thing that people are failing to get. That when these people talk about we gonna tax the rich, they exempt themselves.
Absolutely. Just like when they pass Obamacare, but they exempt themselves from that type of care and got them some good care and left us with Obama without care.
That's right. All right. Let's
continue on with the interview. I'm sorry, you all know how I get passionate about these issues.
That's right.
Come on, let's pick it back up with Congressman Steve King.
So that brings me to one question. One question for you, for everybody that's looking at us. Who ordered the hit? Who ordered the hit? Because I see how they do hit pieces on Diamond and Silk. But who ordered this hit on you? You're for immigration. You're for our president's agenda. You're for babies being born and not killed. You're for a lot of things that the opposite side stands against. And I look at my fellow Republicans, brothers and sisters, that have failed to learn how to stick together. Instead, they want to go around stabbing each other in the back before they get the facts about what actually happened.
My colleagues here never had an opportunity to hear the facts. And it was hard for me to produce those facts because I was hit blindsided. And what happened? That's my question. What happened? And I want to make sure that I spoke always factually about it. So I wasn't going to be able to just stand up and lay it all out. I didn't really know until, this came down on a Thursday, I didn't really know until 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon what had happened. And what I had to do is I had to reconstruct that interview from memory. I was standing in my kitchen with my youngest son there, and we're chewing through this. And so let me see. So here's a question, and I would kind of answer it. And as I was talking, I went through that language, and I just said it the way I would naturally say it. And we both at the same time said, that's it. It was a separation of the two.
And they put it together to make it appear like it's like this power move. And that has to stop because we're supposed to be united. I mean, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, we should be united for the nation.
That's one of the wisest things that's been said here. There's no reason for us to be attacking each other and eating our own. That's one of the things I love about you too, is that you just pop out with the real truth, common sense, the anger. I just reached my pocket to grab this too. This is a challenge coin from the heartbeat bill, which we have talked about. I remember if we've done so on tape. And this bill that had last Congress 174 co-sponsors on it. It will save the lives of. The number was around 900,000 babies a year. And if people want to be obsessed with race, it saves a higher percentage of black babies than any others. And then the next highest percentage is Hispanic. And then the next highest percentage is Asian. The lowest percentage are white babies. No one has brought a bill nearly as far as this one has been through. And this is because I believe we're all created in God's image. We're all created equally. And human life is sacred in all of its forms. And we have an obligation to defend every human life.
Amen.
Well, look, we know you got to go vote because your 15 minutes is up. Thank you for sitting down and clarifying that and talking to us today.
Thank you so much.
This is a good and healthy conversation here. And I just appreciate your friendship. And you know what I said this morning in the introduction? America needs your voice.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And next time you're on an interview, make sure you record it.
That's right. That's my pledge.
There's no interview.
That's right.
That's right. Thanks so much, Silk and Diamond. You guys are just terrific.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks.
You know, I am so happy that Congressman Steve King was able to tell his story in the full story and the full context of that story.
That's right. That's right.
And I think that it's very important that we as Republicans learn how to stick together.
That's right.
That is the one thing that the Democrats have over us.
Yeah.
I don't care what go down, they stick together.
Yeah.
They stick to the narrative. And we always seem to not stick together, get afraid, shy away from, step back from.
Right.
When we know that it could not be, it may not even be any truth to it. So instead of us hopping on stories, what we need to do is know the person. Start judging them by the content of their character, not by the content that's being put out by the left-wing media that want to slander and try to destroy your name because you are a conservative.
That's right. And make sure you know the facts first before you start spewing the lies, because once the mainstream media put those lies out, they want you to be the one to continue to carry the lies forward. So make sure you know the facts about the story before you speak about the story.
And that matters. It really do.
Yes, it does.
Thank you, Congressman Steve King, for sharing your story.
And thank you all for watching.